Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. Okay, so our Parsha today is going to be Parsha's Leviticus chapters 25 verse 1, which is Behar, on the mountain. And I think that I'm going to speak today about different things, maybe more relevant today than even in the ancient past, even though it was relevant back then as well. So let's just quickly summarize. But before we do, let's start with our petition and prayer. And I'm going to give thanks to God, and give thanks to God for everything He's given us and is giving us. So we shall start with Psalm 134. Okay, bear with me. Behold, blessed are you, Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh, all your servants of Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh, which by night stand in the house of Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh. Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh. Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh that has made the Shemaim and the earth, bless you out of Zion. Psalm 11. In Elohim I put my trust. Say to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain. For behold, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may shoot at the upright in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Elohim is in his holy temple. Elohim's throne is in the Shemaim. His eyes watch, his eyes examine the children of men. Elohim tries the righteous, but he hates the wicked, and those that love to do violence his soul hates. Upon the wicked he shall rain burning coals, fire and brimstone, and a horrible wind of rage. This shall be the portion of their cup. For Elohim is righteous, and he loves acts of justice. The upright shall see his faces. Psalm 12. Help Elohim, for the pious man ceases, for the trustworthy fail from among the children of men. They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips, with a double heart do they speak. Elohim shall cut off all flattering lips, and the tongue that speaks proud things. Who have said with our tongue, we will prevail, our lips are our own. Who is master over us? For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy. Now will I arise, says Elohim, I will set him in safety from that scoffs at him. The words of Elohim are clean words, a silver tried in the furnace, of the earth purified 7 times. You guard them, O Elohim, you shall preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walk on every side, when worthlessness is exalted all around. Okay, so give me a moment. Let me open up. Let me just open up my document, and let us today. I'd like to actually go to Psalm 119, and I like to today read the Nun part, starting with 105, verse 105. Your lamp is a light to my feet and light to my path. That is the one I want to focus on. And the next one I want to read is Sameach, the next bit. I hate vain thoughts, but your Torah do I love. You are my hiding place and my shield. I trust in your word. Depart from me, you evildoers, for I will keep the commandments of my power. Uphold me according to your word, that I may live, and let me not be ashamed of my trust. Hold me up, and I shall be safe, and I will respect your statutes continually. Okay, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, Todah Rabbah, we thank you. We thank you, Abba. We give you thanks that you brought us through the week, this week, through the things that you have supplied us, the food that you have given us, for the travels that you have supported us, the vehicles that you provided, for the transportation that we needed to make, and for the home that you provided, for the shelter that you made for us, the food that you put on our table. We give you thanks. Multitude of Todah Rabbahs, multitude of thanks that we give you. And we thank you that you're forever with us, that your word is trustworthy and your word is true. I thank you for that, and I bless your holy name, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is the current situation In the UK, we just had the interest rates gone up 0.25%. In the United States, we just had interest rates gone up just before the UK 0.25%, quarter of a point. Now, like I said, that everybody and his donkey, they want to follow the US's interest rate decisions. Whatever we do over here, everybody and their donkey follows. If it's right or if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. They all follow it, okay? Because they follow us because they think that we are right. Now, you know what my viewpoint is on Jerome Powell, the current man in the job. You know what I think of him? I think he's very inept at the job. I think that he needs to go, and he will go, by the way. So the question is that, are we heading in the right direction? Raising interest rates has a knock-on effect. We had another bank collapse this week. You may have heard of it in the US, and I think a second bank is on the brink. There may be others as well. Remember, I told you about 3 weeks ago, I told you that more banks will follow, that this is not the end. And I explained the reasons that when interest rates rise, the banks have to borrow money at smaller interest rates, and when their interest rates suddenly go up, then they have to pay back those loans they borrowed at a higher interest rates. They can lend to the Joe public at the increased rates, but between banks, that doesn't happen. So if a bank borrowed from another bank at 0.5%, and now the rate suddenly is 5%, and they have to pay back, let's say, at 3% with a discount, the LIBOR rate, then what happens is that they're still paying 6 times the amount. So that's the problem. And we're not talking about small money like, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. We're talking about here millions and billions of dollars, where interest on $1 billion, as you know, can suddenly be catastrophic for banks as well. So this is why we see this crashing of banks and all sorts of other things going on, and I think that that's just the surface. However, inflation to some extent has come down a little, but I think a lot is not to do with interest rates. Don't make a mistake that interest rates push the prices down. No, what pushed the prices down is cheaper gas prices, cheaper energy, cheaper petrol prices, because the gas price, as they call it, or the liquid, not the liquid gas, but the petrol. The petrol went down to around 68. Now is trading at around $70.88. So it keeps changing, of course. I'm giving you the current price. So around $70.86 a barrel. So that significant drop from where it was at 80-something dollars has had a knock-on effect on everything. That means that's why your eggs are cheaper now. That's why your poultry is cheaper. But it's not because Jerome Powell or Mr. Bailey decided to up the interest rates. That's not the reason. That is just a knock-on effect of the energy. If oil prices today shoot up to $90 a barrel, doesn't matter how much interest rates they raise, everything will go expensive because it starts from the ground. Transportation costs go up. When petrol goes up, transportation costs go up as well, and that's what has an effect on food prices, the bills you pay, the clothes you wear, everything. Okay, so everything is dictated by energy prices. So what's the solution? I'll tell you what the solution is. The solution is that America produce its own oil and do not buy from other providers. If America, just this one country, one nation, if it says we're going to produce more oil, I can tell you that tomorrow, next week, you're going to see that on the world market, petrol prices will come down to around 60, 62 a barrel, and everything will become less in price. It will have a knock-on effect. None of these interest rate rises work. This is a flawed model. As I discussed it, this is a flawed model. This model does not work. All it does, it gives pain to people, because people have to end up paying more bills in their homes, more energy prices, more fuel costs at the pump, and of course when you go to your superstores you have to pay more for your groceries. So it only causes pain, and if you have loans to pay off on your bank, on your homes, on your credit cards, those interest rates go up and you get more pain. So all these bankers are doing, lo and behold, is giving people pain, nothing more. Okay, they're not your friends. They were never your friends, and they never will be. They are just, people who are controlled by governments. Dictate to them what they should do. Let's put it this way: governments dictate to them, and they follow the government orders. So there are people that dictate to them how they should operate, and they basically follow that model. So that's just where we are. And like I said, that don't be disillusioned, and don't think for a second that somehow some magic occurred which caused the prices to suddenly be favorably, as I said, favorably be in your favor somehow. That is not the case. They're not in your favor because of Jerome Powell or because Mr. Bailey or whoever your governor is of your bank. The only reason that these things happened is as I said earlier, is because of oil prices. Oil prices will and do dictate everything that happens in our economy. Okay, oil prices are the major ingredient. If oil prices do not go up as much as we think they should, then of course we won't have half the problems that we have to face. Fortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, we are dealing with different things, different things going on in our environment related to, of course, as I said, related to the oil prices. So coming back to that, now coming back to the Parsha, and I wanted to just give you a quick read. Book of Leviticus, chapters 25, verse 1 on the mountain. And Yahoshua spoke to Moshe in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath to Yahoshua. 6 years you shall sow your field, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard, and gather in the fruits there. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest to the land, a Sabbath for Yahoshua. You shall neither sow your field, neither prune your vineyard. Okay, so this is talking about a Sabbath. We've discussed the Sabbath many times before. It has many meanings other than just simply a rest. But I want to talk about something else, and I want to just from the Sabbath, maybe we'll line up with this in the end. But here is my take, and my take is this regarding the things that are going on, essentially. And give me a second. Let me just do something here. Okay, so I want to talk about your best friends. The sum of your 5 best friends. You are the sum of your 5 best friends. And if your 5 best friends are broke, then you will also be broke. If your 5 best friends live in a cave, then you will also live in a cave. If your 5 best friends are affluent, then you will also be affluent. And you can look around yourself and look at your condition, and you can decide whether the best friends that you have, it doesn't have to be 5. This is just an analogy. It doesn't have to be 5. It could be just 2 friends, 2 best friends, maybe 1 best friend. But if they are what I described, then that's where you will be. A lot of you out there, so-called Torah believers, are living in a cave mentality. Okay, you are living in a cave mentality, and you need to come out of that cave mentality. Because if you don't come out of that cave mentality, the danger is that you're going to hurt your families, and you're going to hurt your relationships between the broader families because of your cave mentality. This cave mentality needs to stop and needs to change. A lot of you don't even know how to use your devices. You have phones, tablets, laptops, all modern age, and you don't know, how to input a password. You don't know how to open your tabs. You don't know how to take a screenshot. This is kind of rather sad. It's sad because you really need to, the technology that you have, you really need to learn it. It's not good to have expensive laptops and phones and yet you don't know how to use it. One time, going back about 3 or 4 years ago, I was having studies with a woman lecturer in California somewhere, and I was learning how to trade the SPX index, and she was teaching, and there was an application that we were using at the time, and I asked her one day, my teacher, how to do something in the app that she had asked us to use, and she gave me a big lecture at that point, and rightly so. And she told me, she said, what the hell, you're using this application and you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to draw a line, you don't know how to throw up a Fibonacci, or things like that. It wasn't a Fibonacci, it was something else altogether different, but she gave me a lecture on that. She said, go away and learn how to use the application, and come back and join the class, because we used to have a live class every morning at around 9 o'clock in the morning prior to the stock market opening. And so she was very, very critical of me not able to use the app. And I didn't take it negatively, I didn't take it badly. I understood that she was right. I needed to get onto YouTube where there's probably 1 million videos on how to use that app and how to do what I was trying to do. So that's what I did. As soon as I took the lecture from her, I went online and I started to look at how to do whatever I was doing. I learned all the ins and outs of the apps, and then the next time I went to the lecture that she did, then I was able to do everything that she was discussing in the class. So it was good for me that she prompted me that I need to know how to use the application. So similarly, I'm going to prompt you in love, and it was going to be tough love next time, in love, to come out of this cave mentality. Some of you live in the cave mentality who think, oh, the CIA is chasing me. I had students in the past in America, in Florida, who thought that the CIA was listening in on their telephone calls, and then they kept changing their number, and they kept changing their email addresses, and they were not government officials, they were not spies, they were just ordinary people doing an ordinary job. So the thing was that they were paranoid because they had that mind issue, a mindset issue. The mindset issue was, oh, somebody's spying on me, somebody's chasing me, and I don't understand that ideology, because the CIA is not chasing you, and the CIA is not listening to your calls, because America scans everybody's calls in America. Everybody's calls are tapped in America. So, I am no more important to them than the next person in the street. But however, if there was a terrorist in the nation, If there was a terrorist in the city, somebody who's out to do evil, sure, if he spoke on the phone and left some cryptic messages or did something, then sure, they will be onto that and be tracking him, etc. And that's understandable. But they're not interested in Joe Blogs going down the street, minding his own business and going to Walmart, and they're not interested in tracking him. They haven't got time of the day to track him. So this idea that these women had in Florida, that they're being chased by CIA, was totally false. It was just a figment of their imagination, and they were just misguided people. That's all. Misguided because of their mindset was a negative mindset that believed that kind of rubbish that they followed. So anyway, so I don't want you to live in that mindset. I don't want you to be in a mindset of, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, is chasing your tail and trying to spy on you. The ones living in UK. Or Joe Biden is spying on all of us. He's going to come and arrest all of us, and he's going to come and put us in jail. This kind of mentality, it belongs in the, it belongs out there in the forest, in the mountains. It doesn't belong in the cities, by the way. And a lot of you live in that mentality. And yes, I agree that Joe Biden may not make all the right decisions. I believe and I agree that he may not be the best president of this country, but that doesn't mean that Joe Biden is waiting at Walmart to arrest me because I just happen to go there to buy my eggs. So that's the kind of mentality some people live in. So some people running around over here thinking that, people are out there trying to arrest them. Unfortunately, your thoughts, your beliefs, they become reality because that's what you believe. If you believe that, you are going to be arrested, and if that's what you focus on all the time, then of course you will be arrested because that's what you focus on all the time. And if you believe that you are a prosperous person, that God is blessing you, and God is going to tremendously bless you, and God will, and God is, then sure, the blessing will come to you. But you see, it's all about your mindset. That's why from today, I want you to remove this cave mindset, because a lot of you I know are living in a cave mindset. This cave mindset, it stops you from progress, it stops you from prosperity, it stops you from great relations, and it stops you from many, many things. Now, I'm not just talking about technology. Of course, sure, technology, if I have a laptop, of course I know how to use it. And if I don't know, then I should go. Listen, when I got my Mac laptop less than a year ago, I had never used a Mac. I mostly used an Intel laptop most of my life. And I came to the Mac, and when I came to the Mac laptop, then it was my first Mac. I really didn't know more than open a browser and do a few, little things like change a few settings here and there. I wasn't really familiar with the Mac too much. But then what happened, I wanted to install Windows on it to run in, in sync with the Mac app, the Mac itself. So I found out that I could install a software called Parallel and install Windows as well and run both. And I did do that. So it took me, a little while to learn how to use my Mac, how to change my password. I went through the videos, I went learning, I went scanning the internet on Google of how to do different things on the Mac, how to change the focus, how to, what kind of mouse speed and all of that. So slowly, I built my knowledge on how to use a Mac. And I come so much to love the Mac that I don't want to use the Intel laptop anymore. My Intel laptop that I have, it sits on the floor. I don't use it, but I use my Mac because it's so good. It can open all the apps I want. It can run beautifully, and I'm very happy with it. Now, that's just me on the Mac, and I'm still learning. It's not that I know everything now. I know most of the things, how to do them, but I'm still learning the Mac as well. It's an ongoing process because, as you know, the software keeps changing and they add more features. So I'm still learning new features. My point is this, that I made the effort, I made the conscious choice to learn how to use it, because this is the product I'm going to use, so I need to know how to use it. So I did. I learned it, and if something I don't know, I just go and search on the internet and find out how to use. Go on Apple support site and check how to use that item depending on the software that I've installed, the operating system. So I encourage you all to, whatever phones you have. I mean, I use an Android phone. I learned my Android phone how to enable screenshots, how to, because on my Android, I have, I think it's Android 13 probably running on there, and I can swipe with 3 fingers and I can get a screenshot, because that's a gesture that I've set up. And so I also want you to do the same. I want you to learn how to use it, how to use your phones, because this week alone, I have spent several hours trying to talk to some of you, trying to help you to make a small investment, which has taken several hours, and some of you have struggled a lot. And the difficulty I had on my part was that a lot of you are having trouble opening your devices or knowing where things are and how to enable them. So it makes it awkward, it makes it hard to help you when you don't know how to use your device. So this is why I said, stop living in a cave mentality. Come out of your cave mentality. There's a whole big world out there. And here you are. And I'm not saying a cave mentality is staying in your home. Nothing wrong with staying in your home. But get to learn your technology. Get to learn how to use your phones. Get to learn how to use your laptops. Know about it. Don't just sit there, like pretending like the government's going to come down on you and arrest you and put you behind bars. A lot of people, black people in America, unfortunately, they live in the mentality that, their forefathers were slaves, so their government's going to make us slaves as well. A lot of people live in that mentality. I, had the conversations back about 4 or 5 years ago with people when I was in Florida, and talking to them and telling them that no, you're not slaves. Yes, slavery happened to select individuals in the past, maybe, who were your forefathers. Not all of them were slaves, by the way. So the ones that were slaves, yes, it happened, and yes, evils were done. But I explained to them that you're not slaves now. Why are you living in a slave mentality? See, people still living in a slave mentality, that they are slaves, or they become slaves, or the police is no good, or the police is bad. If all you think about is that the American police is bad, then what do you think is going to happen to you? And let me ask you, if you believe that the American police is bad, what do you think American police is going to do to you? They are going to be bad to you, because that's your belief system. So change your belief system. You need to change your belief system to not that American police is bad, but that American police is good, that you always get good from them. That's where you need to live. And if you live that American police is evil, they are racist, then they will be evil to you and they will be racist to you. I've had this conversation so many times with people here, but I find that it is like talking to a brick wall. Some people here are like a brick wall. They are stuck with their mentality and they don't change. And, this is why I point you to references like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey went through a lot of problems in this country, but she overcame all her problems and is probably one of the few women in America that is a billionaire. And her becoming a billionaire is not some chance. It was because of her mindset. She changed her mindset. She started to think differently to all the other people, black people around her, and then she became the woman that she is today. It was a climb to the mountain. So she had to get to the mountain and climb it. A lot of you are standing at the bottom of the mountain and still looking up with your heads and wanting to be at the top, but your mindset is a gutter mindset. So you need to remove your gutter mindset and you need to change your mindset into the mindset which is of success, which is of prosperity, which is of, affluence. If you don't do that, you do injustice to yourself, you do injustice to your families, and injustice to your children. I, had a conversation in Pakistan with a man, and I said to him, I went to their home. I saw him, his wife, standing up in a very tiny, it was a tiny 2 by 2 foot kitchen, and she had a little stove there, little cooker, and she'd do her cooking, and then it was a, the walls were all tatty. There was no paint was all, there was no paint in there. It was dilapidated. It was really old. So one day I went to their house and I looked and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to change their kitchen and I want to put a new panels over there, like paneling. I decided to spend some money, my own money, and started to change their kitchen to have panels. So I thought, when his wife goes in there, when his daughter goes in there for cooking, at least it'll look nice, it'll look neat and clean. So I did. I changed. I said to him, where does the so-and-so shop? He didn't know. He's clueless. So we went out. We found, asking other people, where is so-and-so shop? Where can I buy panels? Where can I buy this? Where can I find that? So I actually made the effort to go and search and recce the place. And I'm talking about Karachi here, right? When I was in the city of Karachi, I recce'd Karachi. I found where I can buy panels, where I can get the man to install it, and all of that. It cost me about, it was about $200 cost, okay? And I changed the kitchen to a brand spanking new kitchen. It was beautiful by the time it finished in 2 days' time. And I said to the man, I said, don't you ever feel ashamed of yourself that you see your wife, she goes into the kitchen. This is supposed to be a Torah family, by the way, but the same mentality, cave mindset. So I said to him, I said, don't you feel ashamed that your wife is standing in the kitchen, in that dilapidated, dirty kitchen, and that is the food you guys eat? I said, that is the food you guys eat. Don't you ever feel any shame about it, that your wife stands there or your daughter, and look at the walls, how dilapidated they are? And he had nothing to say. Because of course he had nothing to say. He had a cave mentality. So I told him that you need to come out of your cave mentality. Think about your wife, think about your children. And you should be thinking that I shouldn't have to think for you. I shouldn't come to your home and think, oh, the kitchen is so dilapidated, maybe I help them make it up. So I'm the Kohen. You're supposed to be giving me the tithes and the offerings, instead of me giving you money to do something. So, I really shamed that man to understanding that he needs to change his behavior. Really, sometimes you have to do that to people because they don't change otherwise. So my point is this, that we don't have to go everywhere and shame people. Sometimes you have to lead by example. And the reason why I led there by the example was to show him that, hey, your wife is a human being. Your daughters are human beings. And you need to treat them in such a way with respect and decency. That's what I was trying to teach that idiot, a student of mine over there. So my point is this, that I'm not saying the same about a lot of you over here. Obviously it's a different environment in the U.S., in the United Kingdom, in France, etc. It's totally different, and it's okay. It's no problem. But I'm just saying, please, God spoke to the whole house of Israel, and we were standing at the bottom of the mountain. And what does God tell us? God doesn't tell us, hey, you bunch of, great people, how good you are, and I brought you out of Egypt. No, He doesn't say it like that. He gathers us up, and He gives us a command, and He says to Moses, He says, Moses, you tell them, speak to the children of Israel and say to them that when I bring you into the land, this is how you are to keep the land. In other words, if God has brought you into any country, whether it's the United Kingdom, whether it's the U.S., whether it's France, whether it's Germany, or whatever, you are supposed to live in a certain way and be kept in a certain way. And God said, keep that way so that you may prosper. Now, what if the Israelites, bunch of, people who came from Egypt, and they came from slavery with a slave mindset? God was trying to remove that slave mindset. That a lot of, again, black American, unfortunately, have this slave mindset here. A lot of them have that slave mindset still today. Because they'll say, oh, my great-grandfathers were slaves, and I don't get a job because they're mistreating me as well. They think that I'm still a slave. See, that's a mindset issue. That needs to go. If that doesn't go, that person will not prosper. And color is not relevant over here. Color is irrelevant. It's just the mindset issue. And they need to remove that mindset to prosper themselves. So this is what I deal with a lot of times over here, is mindset. And so God prepared the mindset for the children of Israel. He said, you have a slave mindset. You have a cave mindset. Come out of this cave mindset and slave mindset. You are now going to be prosperous people. You are now going to have your own land. You are now going to have your own fields. And you're going to grow your own crops. But this is how I want you to do it. Get it? And he gave them a command that you can't just, like if I gave you a car, I don't want you to just be, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day on the road, driving that car to the ground. So God was giving them instructions that when you have a piece of land, that you need to give it rest. If you have a vehicle, you need to give it a rest. So he chose a day of rest for the people and for their things, for their animals, for the equipment, everything. Look, if I have a machine and I use that machine day in and day out and I give it no rest, let's say I have a washing machine and I run it 7 days a week, I give it no rest, even though it might be from a reputable company like, Whirlpool, it's still going to break down. Why? Because I gave it no rest. I just drove it to the ground. So, similarly, human beings need a rest. Human beings can't work 7 days a week throughout the year. So, God knew, who created the human beings, that they need a rest. So he gave them a day. He said, hey, look, Saturday Sabbath, you keep the Saturday Sabbath, all of you rest, you replenish with your families, and now you're ready to go for the next week. Similarly for the land, give the land a rest. And anything else in your life, anything else. Listen, if you are married and you have spouses, you have your wives, and if you make your wives work every day in the kitchen, and they're preparing your food, they're preparing your meals, and you give them no rest, I think that your marriages will have a very hard time to survive if you do it that way. Even in such a scenario, once a week, maybe you'll give your wife a rest, and you should, and you might say to your wife, you know what, honey, today we're going to have pizza, or we're going to have hamburger, or whatever, and you're going to say, let's not do any cooking today. So that's a rest. That's a form of a rest. That way, you are giving your spouses rest, and they understand that, you have an understanding heart. And this is why I said to that man in Pakistan that you are an idiot. You are an idiot because you do not have an understanding heart. You do not understand the feelings of your wife and the atmosphere that she stands up and cooks in every day for you. See, this is a mindset issue, and it's an issue with understanding, and an issue where somebody from outside has to come and explain it to them. That this is how you do it. This is how you should be doing it. This is how you should be treating everybody. But anyhow, this is why I came back to the analogy of the 5 best friends. If the 5 best friends, whether that's 5, whether that's 4, whether that's 3, whether that's 2 or 1, if the 5 best friends are dirt poor or, impoverished, let's put it impoverished. If they're impoverished, what do you think you will be? You think you'll be rich? I don't think so. You'll also be impoverished. So you need to change your friends. Your next question you're going to ask, what shall we do then, Cohen? Change your friends. You know who are my best friends? First of all, my five best friends, I don't have 5 best friends. Maybe I don't even have 1 best friend. But I do have dealings with different people. And you know who those people are? They're all millionaires, by the way. I'm talking about Pakistan, not America. In Pakistan, I deal with 3 families on a kind of infrequent basis. At least 2 families I deal with frequent basis, and both are millionaires. Both are business-related families. And one family has 15 cars in their house. And the other one, I don't even know the count of cars they have. There's 3 brothers living together, and between themselves they have about 60 cars. So those are the only 2 families I deal with in Pakistan, and they are multimillionaires. So what does that tell you about me? So learn from me. Be amongst the people who have a prosperity mindset. Means that when you're with your 5, 3, 2, 1 best friends or acquaintances, you may actually some point get good advice. You see, if you're with a impoverished friend living in a car, as some people do in America, they live in their cars. Somebody in America living in a car or on the road, what advice they're going to give you? You need advice to prosper yourself. What advice exactly you're going to get from them? Well, they live in a car. What advice they're going to give you? They have got nothing to give you. They cannot give you good advice. Take it from me. They got no advice for you. But if you had a friend who was a millionaire, maybe he was on the stock market, a millionaire, maybe he was in some business, whatever business he was doing, and if he was your friend and you were just, talking on the by, maybe one day, you might be just talking about families, but maybe one day you're sitting with him and he might give you a financial advice. And that bit of financial advice is what might lift you up off the ground. That happens with your rich friends. It doesn't happen with poor friends, by the way. It doesn't happen with people living in cars. People who live in cars, and I'm not saying that it's, I'm not being mean to the people living in cars, but it's a mindset issue. Again, it's a mindset issue. And you need to come out of that mindset. You need to come out of the mindset. And prosperity, remember, when God brought the children of Israel out, He didn't tell them to live in cars. He didn't say set up tents. He said, I'm going to give each of you a portion of land. Means what exactly? To build your homes. So He gave them homes to build their families on. And then the ancient culture was, and it is still present today, that one family had, say, 10 children. Then each son had a room in the house with his wife, and then if one son was to get married, then they built another room so that the wife and the son could live together. That's the culture in the East. That's the culture in the West. That when families get married, they have to buy an additional house or they have to extend their home. Something like that. But if you want to live in your grandmother's basement, and if you're going to tell me that, I live in my grandmother's basement and I don't have the money, that means that you have the wrong friends. You really need to examine who is your friend. I mean, who are you friends with? Are you friends with the local Scrooge? If you are, maybe that's why you live in grandmother's basement. So, come out of the basement cave mentality. Look around yourself. Make a better mindset of yourself. It is absolutely great idea to spend time to meditate and to do the meditations I gave you. It's a wonderful idea. I love the idea of meditation to build yourself up. You do your affirmations, you do your prosperity things that you do them every day. It's a great idea to build yourself. And you have to be alone to do it, and that's great as well, no problem. Living alone is no problem whatsoever. I'm just saying, come out of the cave mentality. Many people out there have a cave mentality. And what is the cave mentality? The cave mentality is that you don't know how to use your equipment for a start. That's cave mentality. You don't know how to invest. That's a cave mentality. And you have the wrong friends. That's a cave mentality. Okay, so change that. Once you change your cave mentality, you'll do well. I have a student, okay? In fact, I have more than one student, of course, as you know. I have students worldwide. I have a student in New York. I have a student in Atlanta. I have students everywhere. But there was one student, I said to him, I came up with an investment. And I asked my students to invest. And many of my students are struggling to find money to invest. Okay? Again, I don't want to go too much into it. This is a public lecture. But one of my students, he did have $500 for the investment. And so you know what I told him? I said, student A, I want you to invest $1,000, not 500. Thank me later, but you go ahead and put the 1,000 in. I've told you so. So he did. He went, he borrowed 500, and he put in 1,000. I just had a chat with him today, and I said, how's your investment doing? He said, it's already 50% up. Okay? Now, I'm not going to give you the numbers, what that means, but what I will tell you is that my student will be standing to gain 10x his investment in another 3 days' time. He will 10x it. And my other student who I told also to double up, he will also 10x his investment in a week's time. So, what does that mean? It's the person that you're with and you listen to and you do, you got to do. Remember when God told us to do it, He wasn't telling us to just look at the piece of land and just eye it, and just hope for the best. He wasn't telling us that. He was telling us to do it. He said, people will call you a wise people. Why will people call us a wise people? Because we follow God's statutes and judgments. And who does the God's statutes and judgments come through? They come through the priesthood, the Kohanim, the Kohen in the gate. They are their first point of call. That would be me here, and maybe somebody else in another country. So if it's me over here, you'd come to me for a first point of call. If you had a problem, if you had an issue, if you had things going on, like for instance, one of my students' wife just gave birth. So yeah, congratulations to you for your son. I'm very happy for you. So he got his second child, which is going to be the star child, I call it the blessed child. The number 2 child is always very blessed by God. And as soon as he got his second child, his investment started to flourish. Now, does that tell you that his second child is a blessed child? Yes, he is. So now he's got to do the Torah ordinance. What is the Torah ordinance? He's got to give the equivalent of a lamb and a bird offering. Okay? By the way, yes, we still do that. That is part of the Torah ordinance. And a lot of you who, claim to be, whatever, but you don't know half of what Torah dictates and Torah demands. It's not just there for the writing. It's not just there for the reading. You actually have to act on it. And that student of mine did act on it in the past. When his first child was born, he sent in the offerings. When his second child is born, he will send in the offering. And I've got to do a Pidya Haben, a redemption ceremony for him in another, 28 days' time. And he will do that as well. So my point is this, that why is he at a prosperous cycle? Why? Is because he follows the Torah to the letter. That's why. And he listens to the Kohen. That's another reason why he's prosperous. And all of you can be prosperous. All of you can be prosperous. I'm not saying that you can't. All of you can be prosperous. But please remove your cave mentality. Remove your ideologies that you live in, where, just because your color is darker. And I'm not saying all my students are dark colored. They're not. I have a mixture of students. But what I'm saying is, I dealt, not right now, I didn't have this issue now, but I had this issue in the past, 6 years ago in America. I dealt with some students who had this mentality of slave mindset, that their forefathers were slaves, and somehow, the government's trying to enslave them as well. That wasn't true, by the way. That is not true then. It is not true now. So, having said that, I would encourage you, all of you, to broaden your horizon. Okay? I put out a meditation to activate your centers in your forehead, basically the pineal gland, and it's called the third eye chakra. And if you're doing it, wonderful. I gave this for you for a $500,000 how shall I say it, to be in your bank. So money to be in your bank, and I know that will happen. By the way, I gave my students to double their income. It wasn't long ago, maybe a month ago, and my students can quote me if I'm telling them the truth or not. But I gave them a meditation privately, a subliminal, a month ago, which I personally recorded. I'm not even going to tell you what it is over here. So when I gave it to them, I told them to listen to it every night. They're about to double their income. And then not just double it, and then double it again. And I said it a number of times for a number of reasons, because they're going to multiply their income not one time, but perhaps 7 times. So they're going to be 7x their income. So I gave them that, and they've been listening to it, and the time has come now for them to multiply their income. And I already spoke with one student yesterday, and he told me that he got a salary increase from his employer of about $11,000, and that's a good increase of his salary. But he asked me the question that he made some investments on my instructions, and he said to me, "Does that count as income?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "You're about to, like I just told you, he's going to be 7xing. I would not even say 7. I said 10x income." But I told him to be ready for that now, because I already made this point. I already said it about 6 months, maybe less than 6 months ago. I said 3 of my students are going to be millionaires, and yes, that time has come. That 3 of my students are going to be millionaires. But hey, listen to the coin in the gate, and you will do well. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so with that, this is why I say, God didn't put the Bible there with the commands and the statutes and the judgments just as a fancy book to put on your shelves. Listen to it. Understand it. And to understand it, you're going to need a Kohen. You need a guru, a leader, somebody who can teach you. So when you understand it, then you can prosper with it. So I thank you for listening. I wish all my students happy successes. And I will be in touch with you, of course, after the lecture during the week. If those of you who need help, I'm here for you. Baruch Hashem. And I'm looking to your prosperous future, and I'm so happy for all of you. I am so happy for all of you. And so please, follow through my advice, do what I told you, and you will do wonderful for yourself. You will do great for yourself. And people will look at you and people will say, "This is a wise and understanding people." Exactly what God said in the Bible. People will look at you and say, "This is a wise and understanding people." Why? Because you have the Torah. You have the laws and the statutes and the judgments of God, and they'll benefit you tremendously, provided you follow them. That's the only thing that God asks you to do, is obey the laws. And it's not hard. What God's telling you to rest on a Saturday, is that hard? If you're a policeman, if you're a nurse and you have to work, that's understandable, because that's government service. You can't come out of that. You can't opt out of that. But remember, in government service, what I explained to you, what I taught you, that the salary of the day belongs to God. That means it goes to the priesthood, and the rest is yours. You can work because you have to work, because it's part of your routine, and because you're a part of government employee, and you can't get a day off. No worries. You can work, but the salary belongs to God. Remember that part. And if you do that, then you do well. Then you will definitely do well. So please, understand that God, for reasons that are only apparent to God, He gives us these commands because He knows that in the long run, this is good for us. Okay? In the long run, this is good for us. That's why God gives them to us. God doesn't give them to us because, they are bad, but it's because they are good. So we have to take God at His own word, and we have to honor God, and we have to learn to do the right thing. So Baruch Hashem, don't take, when I was talking about living in your grandmother's basement, I was kind of kidding. I don't mean that you do live in a grandmother's basement, but that's just an ideology. I mean, it's a mindset. So, come out of these negative mindsets so that you may prosper in your life and you may do well. That's what I want for you. Have a wonderful Sabbath and a wonderful day and wonderful week ahead. Shabbat Shalom to all of you.